Hello everybody, how are you doing today? It's lovely to be back in the garden. It's a glorious weather today, sunny, t-shirt weather, first time this year. Let's do some gardening, come on. As you might have noticed, it's early March. I think it's 4th today, if I'm not mistaken. And the spring definitely arrived here in UK. So I need to make some space in the greenhouse and start with my planting. There's some harvesting to do at the end, so stay tuned. But first of all, let's do the planting. I need to plant my broad beans and sort out the garlic, so I have some more space in the greenhouse because the potatoes are coming as well very soon. Let's go. And here we are in the garden. So the main job for today are those beauties. This is all my broad beans in a pot. They were growing here all through the winter. Same with the garlic over here, that all needs planting as well. As you can see, the greenhouse is looking quite nice for the time of the year. The radishes here at the front row, they started bolting, but I'm still eating the leaves in all my salads. And Mizuna at the back over there is never disappointing. That's a lovely veg. I'm definitely gonna keep on growing it year over year. But the main thing for today is the garlic and broad beans. On a closer look, it seems they want to start flowering already. I was a bit late this year, crazy times, but nevertheless I'm here now, so we can start planting our broad beans. They need to go in the ground. They're growing way too fast here in a greenhouse. And same with my garlic. I'm gonna plant them in some type of pots, most likely. So yeah, let's do some work. So I'm gonna be planting my broad beans here in this bed, just next to the entrance to the veggie area, next to my grape. But first of all, I need to take them out and lay it on the ground to see how many plants I have. This bed is about meter wide, so I'm thinking maybe 2 rows. I don't want to crowd them too much. If you crowd your broad beans, they are quite big and bushy plants. Later on, when they're flowering, the bees and the bumblebees can't get inside the rows for pollination, so it's better to give them a bit more space. But we will see how many plants I have and how much space they're gonna take. Okay, so that's my broad bean for this year. They're all gonna get planted today. Let me just space them and we'll see how much of the bed it's gonna take. Okay, so those broad beans took the whole length of the bed. Let me quickly show you how it looks like, and I'll show you my spacing as well. Okay, so here we are. As I said, it's the first bed just next to the entrance, and here are my broad beans ready to be planted. I don't know if you saw one of the previous video, I spread quite a lot of chicken manure with straw on all of the bed, actually, all of the beds. So I'm gonna try to scrape it away before planting, so it's not directly touching the broad beans. It's been lying here on the ground for about 2 weeks, so it shouldn't be that hot anymore with all the rains we were having, but better safe than sorry, I guess. As for the spacing, I'm leaving them 25-30 centimeters apart. As I said, 2 rows all the way through. That is probably 6-7 meters long by 1 meter wide. So yeah, let me get into planting. As I just said before, I have some chicken manure mixed with straw laying on all the beds, so I need to scrape it out a bit. I don't want it touching the stem of the broad bean directly, and it's nothing to it really. Couldn't be more straightforward. Just plunk it out of the pot. First, make a hole. As I said, it couldn't be more straightforward. Make a hole, plunk it out of the pot. As you can see, the roots already coiling around, so it's the high time to transplant them. There's tiny few weeds at the base. I can remove them, plant them in the ground, cover with soil, and one is done. Another, oh, I didn't count how many broad beans I have. One sec. Seems like I have 40 plants. By the way, that was 100% germination. Only one is slightly dodgy. I don't know if it's gonna grow, but we'll see. But fingers crossed, I'm gonna have 40 broad bean plants. The soil is still quite wet after the winter, so I'm not planning on watering them much. I'll see how it goes. It's lovely and sunny today. Honestly, I was waiting for spring for so long. It seemed like for ages. I'm not a winter person, as you might have noticed. And today is a first day for a t-shirt. I love it. But anyway, let's get back to planting. Don't get too excited about the spring. It's still very early. It's early March, so the weather might change anytime. I was using my own garden soil to grow them in the pots over the winter. That's why I'm getting odd weed here and there, but nothing major really. I love broad beans. It's one of my favorite beans, really. It's so easy to grow and so quick as well. They should be giving me some beans 3 months, I would say, 3-4 months. Considering it's March now, that's gonna be first homegrown bean I'm gonna be eating this year. So let me continue with my broad beans and I'll get back to you when I'm done here. Okay, and here we are. That didn't take long at all. As you can see, I planted 2 rows just under my grapevine. The broad beans usually get quite tall, at least a meter, if not more. So they should be all right, and they are quite early as well. So I'm hoping they're gonna start fruiting before the grapes and the pear tree, and especially that corner over there, get proper shady with all the other plant growth. But I think, fingers crossed, they should be all right here. On top of that, the chicken manure with the straw gonna act as a insulation for the soil, stop it evaporating that fast. There's quite a lot of straw in here, actually. There's much more straw than chicken manure. But besides straw, there's lots of nutrition here as well. So I hope we're gonna get proper broad bean harvest this year. But now this is done. As I said, I'm not going to be watering it. The soil is really wet still. But now we can move to the garlic. Let's go. Okay, so the greenhouse is starting to look much emptier already. Getting rid of the broad beans over there. So next on the agenda is my garlic. It's 100% germination as well. They are growing quite nice in the little pots. Here at the end I have some elephant garlic. They're gonna be planted out as well. I was thinking I'm gonna plant them all in some type of pots. Not quite sure which one I'm gonna use. As you might know, my soil is infested with the onion white rot. I'm doing one experiment at the moment. Actually, let me show you. Hold on. So this one here is my experimental garlic bed for this year. I planted lots of mustards here before winter. It was growing nice, and at the end of the winter the frost killed the mustard. As expected, that's what I wanted. The idea is that mustard gonna kill or reduce onion white rot. We'll see. As you can see, I have some garlic germinating here as well. They are much smaller compared to the ones grown in a greenhouse. And here at the end is my elephant garlic. So we'll see how that's gonna do. Hopefully it's gonna work for my onion white rot problem. All the other garlic I'm gonna be planting in some type of pots. I just need to rummage around and find something big enough to plant them. I have some growing already in a self-watering pot. I'll show you that in a second, but as I said, I don't want to risk the whole garlic crop to be lost to onion white rot like happened last year. That's why half of it is growing in the ground, the other half gonna be growing in the pots. And here on the top, on my floating shelves, are my garlic that I planted in a self-watering pots. I think I aimed for 4 plants per pot. Some of them are double. Not sure if I should keep both of them or remove one. But yeah, they are growing well. They're gonna stay in those pots until it's time to harvest. So let's try to find some pots and the soil from outside of my garden, hopefully not infected with onion white rot. I'll see you back in a sec. And here is the amount of garlic I have left. I don't have any more pots big enough for them. So they're gonna grow in the ground somewhere. I'll find some space and cross my fingers that I'm gonna get something out of them. But now let's move to my outdoor station and I'll show you how I'm planting my garlic. I'm gonna have 3 pots for normal garlic. It's gonna be 6 plants, 4 plants and 6 plants. And this one here at the back gonna be elephant garlic. I think I can squeeze 3 plants here. We'll see. All right, let me do some garlic planting. All right, so here we are. As I said, I have 4 pots, 3 for normal garlic, 1 for elephant garlic, and all the rest I still have in the greenhouse, gonna go in my allium bed, hoping that it's gonna survive. And like with anything else, it's really easy project. Just make a hole. I should be wearing gloves actually, but after this whole long winter, it's actually quite nice to touch the soil. The garlic is definitely ready to be planted. The roots are starting to coil at the bottom. So like with anything else, just make a hole, put the plant in and firm it in. It's nothing to it really. I'm gonna do same with all the rest. By the way, this is garlic that I bought from garden center. I didn't want to risk my own garlic, which is definitely infested with onion white rot. That was the first time in I don't even know how many years I bought some garlic from a garden center. So I hope it's gonna work well. This one here is growing 2 plants. I don't want it ready, I want one bigger one. So I'm gonna remove this one here. My old pots are actually disintegrating. It's a high time I buy some more. Actually, I'm not going to be buying them. I might visit 1 or 2 garden centers around my area. They usually have some free pots for people to take. I might do that soon. Okay, so 1 pot is done. I have 3 more to go. I'm not going to make you watch all this. It's going to be exactly the same process. So I'm going to plant it out and I'll see you back here in a sec. And here we are, all 4 pots planted. As I said, 3 pots of normal garlic, 1 pot for elephant garlic, and I have some spare around 10 plants to plant in my onion garlic bed later on. But for now, I'm happy with that one. Fingers crossed, that's gonna work. I don't know if camera is picking it up, but here in the front is some garlic that I left. Well, I missed it last year. I didn't harvest it. It's all sprouting and germinating, but I wouldn't hope too much for that. it's all got really badly hit by the onion white rot. I'm actually surprised that it's regrowing again. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it here in the ground. Let me adjust the camera so you actually see what I'm talking about. Okay, hopefully that's better. So I was talking about the garlic growing here, just at the foreground of your screen. That's left from last year. As I said, I was quite surprised that it actually germinated. It was so badly damaged by the onion white rot. But I'm gonna leave it here. I'm not counting on harvest from this garlic. I'm just gonna use it as greens for salads and stuff like that. So that can stay, but the main crop are those and the one growing in my allium bed. I was planning to do my parsnip harvesting, but I think I'm gonna leave it for the next video. This one might be getting too long already. But as I said, thanks God, the spring is here. I love it. That's a favorite time of the year for me. And the first planting of 2026 started, so I'm officially opening 2026 gardening season. I still have some potatoes to plant in my pots that gonna go in the greenhouse, but that's gonna have to wait till tomorrow or the next day, most likely, maybe over the weekend. Today is 5th of March, Thursday, so we'll see. But yeah, I made some space in the greenhouse so I can take the space with the potato pots, as always, every spring. But yeah, for now, I think that's all. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you back in the garden, hopefully very, very soon. Bye.